The desert sky was clear above the Arizona Observatory. Inside the control room, the quiet hum of machines filled the air. Mia Dawson sat alone, sipping cold coffee and watching the monitors. She was young, sharp, and often worked night shifts no one else wanted. She liked the silence. The stars made her feel calm. Suddenly, one of the machines beeped. She frowned, leaned closer, and saw a repeating pattern on the screen. It was not noise. It was not natural. Pattern was precise, mathematical, and it repeated every 12 seconds. Her hands moved fast, recording the data, checking systems, making sure it was real. "What are you doing out there?" she whispered to the stars. She sent the signal to her supervisor and stayed glued to the screen. Within an hour, the control room was full. Scientists, technicians, and military officers stared at the data. The signal was not random. It was intelligent. Someone, somewhere was speaking. By the next morning, the signal was on every news channel. People all over the world were talking about it. The message contained star coordinates. Even more shocking, it had a clear call for help. No one could deny it now. We were not alone. Ain't. Someone far away had sent a message across the stars, hoping someone would hear, and humans had heard it. A global meeting was held within days. Leaders, scientists, and engineers came together to understand the signal. Teams across countries worked day and night, decoding the message. They found images, sounds, and even a star map. Showed a small galaxy near the edge of known space. The planet in the signal was marked with a bright red circle. The message was simple. Their world was dying. They were under attack. They needed help. Many people were afraid. Some wanted to ignore the message. But others saw a chance to do something great, a chance to show that humanity was more than just a planet full of problems. In Washington, the president spoke to the world. They asked for help. We will answer. The world changed overnight. Space agencies united. Private companies opened their doors. Resources poured into building something no one had ever built before. A ship that could reach another galaxy. A ship that could carry hope. At a base in Texas, the work began. Scientists, soldiers, and engineers came together. They built a ship called the Dauntless Horizon. It was strong, fast, and filled with the best people the world had to offer. Ethan Cole was chosen to lead. He was calm, brave, and respected by everyone. Amara Lee was his second in command. She was sharp, tough, and had a mind built for battle. Mia Dawson was brought on board to help guide them using the signal. Everyone trained hard. They studied the signal, the alien star map, and how to use the wormhole engine. It would bend space and send them far across the stars. The journey would be long and dangerous, but they were ready. When the ship launched, the world watched. People cheered, cried, and prayed. The Dauntless Horizon rose into the sky like a silver arrow. It carried not just a crew, but the hopes of every man, woman, and child on Earth. As the ship passed the moon and reached the edge of human space, the crew looked at the stars ahead. They were going into the unknown. They were answering a call that crossed galaxies. Mia stood by the window, eyes wide. "We heard you," she whispered. "We're coming." The ship entered the wormhole. Space bent and stretched. Light twisted around them. Stars disappeared. And just like that, humans were no longer just watchers of the sky. They had become part of something bigger. The wormhole opened like a mouth in space, and the Dauntless Horizon flew through it without slowing down. Inside the ship, the crew held their breath. It was not fear that filled them, but wonder. They had crossed a great distance in just seconds. The stars outside had changed. They were now in a place no human had ever been. Ethan Cole stood on the bridge, eyes fixed on the screen.
Amara Lee
Stood beside him, silent but alert. Behind them, Mia Dawson worked at her console, tracking the signal that brought them here. The crew moved with purpose, each one trained and ready. They were not just explorers, they were messengers, maybe even protectors. The ship flew past a dying star, its light dim and red. Broken planets floated nearby, their surfaces burned and cracked. Something had happened here, something terrible. Mia gasped when she saw the first alien ship. It drifted powerless, with holes burned through its hull. The design was not human. It looked like it had been grown, not built. Vines of metal curled around the broken frame. "We found them," Mia said. "These must be the ones who sent the signal." We moved closer. The ship was still. No signs of life. But then another shape appeared from behind a shattered moon. It was small and alive. Ethan ordered the crew to hold position. The new ship sent a light signal, blinking in the same pattern as the original message. It was a welcome. A voice came through the speakers. It was soft and clicking, not human at all. But translation software worked fast. "You heard us. You came. We are the Serati." A meeting was set up. The Dauntless Horizon docked with a nearby station that floated above a dark planet. Inside, the humans met the Serati for the first time. They were tall, with thin limbs and dark glassy eyes. Their bodies looked like smooth stone, and their voices buzzed like wind in the trees. The leader of the Serati called himself Kellen. He welcomed the humans and thanked them. His people had once been spread across many worlds, but now they were few. The ones who attacked them were not like anything humans had seen. They were machines, Kellen said. Not just metal, but thinking, learning machines. They called themselves the Vorak. They did not speak, did not feel. They only destroyed and consumed. Mia listened closely. She asked questions, took notes, and studied the maps the Serati shared. She felt something deep inside her, not just fear, but purpose. "We need to help them," she told Ethan later. "We can't turn back now," Ethan agreed. He spoke to the crew. Many of them had trained for war, but none had expected this. They were in another galaxy, about to fight a battle that was not theirs. Still, no one stepped back. Every one of them stood tall and ready. Amara began working with the Serati defense teams. She taught them human tactics. In return, the Serati shared their energy shields and light weapons. Engineers from both sides worked day and night, building new defenses and combining their knowledge. Mia spent time with Kellen, learning about Serati science and history. He showed her old data about the Vorak. They had come from deep space, attacking without warning. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted. They simply took and moved on. As the days passed, trust began to grow between the two species. They worked together, shared food, and even told stories. The Serati were kind and wise, but they had lost much. Their cities were ruins. Their people were scattered. Their hope was small. But now, with humans beside them, that hope began to grow again. One night, Mia stood on the viewing deck looking at the stars. Kellen stood beside her. "Why did you come so far?" he asked. "Because we heard your voice," she said. "We couldn't ignore it." He nodded slowly. "Maybe you were the answer we waited for." In the distance, sensors picked up a movement. A fleet was coming, not human, not Serati. The Vorak were near. The crew rushed to their stations. The calm days were over. War was coming. This time the Serati were not alone. Humans had answered the call. The warning lights flashed red across the dauntless horizon. Every crew member moved fast, taking positions. The Vorak fleet had entered the system. Their ships were black and sharp like knives, moving in perfect lines. They did not send a signal. They did not speak. They only came to destroy. Captain Ethan stood at the center of the bridge, eyes locked on the screen. "Battle stations," he said. His voice was steady. Amara gave orders quickly. The ship's shields went up. Weapons powered on. Mia sat at her station, tracking the enemy ships. She felt fear but kept working. The Serati ships flew beside the dauntless horizon. Their weapons were weak, but they flew with courage. The first wave of Vorak drones came fast. Small and fast, they crashed into the defense line. Explosions lit up space. The dauntless horizon fired its pulse cannons, destroying many drones, but more kept coming. Mara launched a group of fighters. Human pilots flew into battle, dodging enemy fire and returning shots. Serati fighters followed, moving in strange, graceful paths. For the first time, humans and Serati fought side by side. On the ground below, the Serati city prepared for attack. Soldiers set up walls and turrets. Engineers worked on shields. Mia and Kellen helped set up communication lines, sending data from orbit to the ground teams. A larger Vorak ship entered the battle. It was massive and glowing with red lights. It fired a beam that sliced through a Serati cruiser, breaking it apart. Mia gasped as the pieces fell toward the planet. Ethan gave the order. Target that ship. All cannons. Fire. The Dauntless Horizon focused its weapons and fired a full volley. The enemy ship shook, parts breaking off, but it still moved. They learn fast, Amara said. They're adjusting to our attacks. She ordered the crew to switch patterns. Unpredictable human tactics confused the vorak. The Serati joined in, copying the new moves. The tide began to turn. On the ground, a group of vorak machines landed near the city. They were tall, walking on 3 legs with spinning arms that cut through walls. Serati soldiers opened fire. Mia stayed near a control post, sending updates to the ship. Kellen stood with her, holding a long energy staff. He was not a soldier, but he would not hide. "This is our home," he said. "We'll not lose it." The machines moved fast, breaking through the outer walls. Mia saw one coming close. She pulled a small pistol from her belt. Her hands shook, but she aimed. She fired. The shot bounced off the machine. But then, a human fighter dropped from the sky and destroyed it with a bomb. Reinforcements landed. More humans joined the fight. Among them was Jack, a tough Marine who had seen many battles. He gave Mia a quick nod. "We're here to finish this." Together, the Serati and humans pushed back the machines. It was hard. Many were lost, but they did not stop. On the dauntless horizon, Amara tracked a strange signal. It came from inside their own ship. She followed it and found something shocking. One of their own had sent secret data to the vorak. His name was Carl. He was a systems officer. When confronted, he did not deny it. "They are the future," he said. "We should join them, not fight them." Amara stared at him. "They kill everything they touch. You betrayed your own kind." Carl was taken to the brig. But the damage was done. The vorak had used his data to attack their weak points. Amara returned to the bridge. "We need to strike their command ship," she told Ethan. Ethan nodded. "Do it." Amara took a small team. Jack joined her. They flew in a stealth ship. Moving through debris and enemy lines, the command ship was huge, guarded by drones. But they found a weak spot, a vent near the engine. They entered. Inside, the ship was dark and full of strange lights. The walls pulsed like they were alive. They planted charges and ran. As they escaped, the ship exploded from within. The light filled space. The vorak fleet stopped. Some ships shut down, others pulled back. The battle was not over, but the humans had struck a deep blow. The Serati cheered. Humans had done what they thought was impossible. Mia looked at the stars again. She knew the fight was not done. But they had made their mark. Humans had arrived. And they were not weak. The sky above the Serati capital world burned red. Clouds of smoke rose into the air. Pieces of metal and stone fell from the sky. The city was nearly surrounded. The last line of defense was ready, but no one knew if it would hold. Inside the command room, Captain Ethan lay on a medical bed. His arm was broken, and he had cuts on his face. He looked weak, but his eyes were clear. Amara stood beside him. "You need rest," she said. "I will rest when this is over," Ethan replied. "You're in command now. They trust you. I trust you." Amara nodded and turned to the others. She had already taken command of the dauntless horizon, but now she had to lead all the forces. Mia worked near the edge of the room, scanning old parts of the signal they had received from the Serati. She had not stopped thinking about it since the last attack. Something felt hidden, something not yet understood. Kellen stood with his people. It moved most civilians to deep shelters, but there were still many in danger. The Serati warriors looked tired. Their bodies shook from lack of rest, but they held their weapons tight. Suddenly, Mia's screen blinked.
Hush.
She zoomed in and stared at the data. It was not just a call for help, it was more. Hidden inside the signal was a design, a weapon, something old, something the Serati had forgotten. She ran to Kellen. "Look at this. Your ancestors left a weapon design inside the signal. You sent it to us without knowing." Kellen looked shocked. "We feared the weapon. It was too powerful. It could destroy whole fleets." "We need it now," Amara said. "If we don't stop the vorak here, they will take everything." The engineers got to work. Humans and Serati worked side by side. They built the weapon inside a large carrier ship. The design was complex. It used both alien and human technology. It took all night, but by morning, it was ready. In orbit, the Vorak fleet returned. More ships, bigger ones. The ground forces moved forward. Machines dropped from the sky like rain. Final battle began. The dauntless horizon flew low over the city, firing at the machines. Serati towers fired beams of light into the sky. Humans on the ground used tanks and walkers to stop the advancing enemy. Amara led the fight from a command ship, giving orders, sending help, moving forces like pieces on a board. Jack was in the middle of the battle, leading a unit of Marines. His voice came through the radio. "We need support near the east wall. Too many of them." "Sending backup," Amara said. In the sky, the carrier ship with the new weapon moved into position. Mia was inside, guiding the systems. Kellen stood beside her. "Are you sure this will work?" he asked. "It has to," she said. They locked the weapon on the main Vorak command ship. It was huge and covered in armor. Regular weapons had done little to it in past battles. Mia pressed the final code. The weapon fired. A wave of energy shot across the sky. It was silent at first, then the sound followed like thunder. The command ship shook, then exploded in a ball of light. On the ground, the Vorak machines stopped moving. Their lights faded, their limbs froze. The battle paused. The humans and Serati stood still, waiting. Nothing moved. Then cheers broke out. One by one, the fighters raised their hands. They had won. The Vorak were not destroyed, but they were broken. The rest of the enemy fleet began to retreat. Amara looked up at the sky and breathed deeply. Mia stepped out of the ship with Kellen. She looked around at the damaged city, the tired soldiers, and the rising sun. "We answered your call," she said. Kellen bowed his head and saved us. The humans had done more than fight. They had changed the future of another world. They had stood beside a species they had never known and gave them hope. In the distance, more signals lit up the sky. But they were not warnings. They were messages of thanks, of peace, of friendship. Earth had gone far across the stars, and now the stars were answering back. The battle was over, but the damage was clear. The ground was broken. Buildings were in ruins. Smoke rose from places where homes once stood, yet there was something new in the air. Not fear, not sadness, but silence and peace. Captain Ethan sat on a chair near the medical bay, his arm wrapped in healing. He watched the screen in front of him. The Vorak fleet had disappeared. No new attacks had come. For the first time in weeks, there was calm. Amara entered the room. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like I've aged 10 years, he said, "but proud," she smiled. "You should be. You did something no one thought possible." Across the city, people worked together. Humans and Serati lifted broken walls, gave water to the wounded, and helped each other with quiet respect. The Serati no longer looked afraid. Their eyes showed hope. Mia walked through the remains of the main signal station. She ran her hand over a metal wall, now marked by the fight. Kellen stood beside her. "This place was where we sent the message," he said, "and now it is where we answered it." Mia replied, looked at the sky. "Your kind is strange. You came so far. You risked your lives for us." "We heard your voice," Mia said. "Once you hear a voice like that, you can't stay silent." In the days that followed, both species worked on repairs. The dauntless horizon was fixed. The city was rebuilt. New towers rose from the ground, shaped by both human steel and Serati stone. A great hall was built at the heart of the city. Their leaders from Earth and the Serati signed a new agreement. It was not just about war. It was about friendship, knowledge, and the future. Amara spoke at the event. "We are different in many ways, but when one voice cried for help, another answered. We stood together, and now we rise together." Cheers followed. For the first time, humans were not seen as just visitors from another world. They were partners. Mia spent more time with Kellen, learning the deeper parts of Serati science and culture. She wrote long notes, preparing to send them back to Earth. She wanted the world to see what she had seen. Not just aliens, not just war, but something beautiful. Jack, the Marine who had fought on the front lines, helped train new Serati guards. He joked with them, taught them human slang, and shared meals with their families. They laughed together like old friends. In orbit, the dauntless horizon floated like a watchful eye. It was no longer just a warship. It was a symbol of unity. One night, Mia stood on the deck, looking at the stars again. Signals passed across the skies, lights blinking in soft rhythm. "We're getting more messages," she said. Amara joined her. "From where?" "Other worlds, other voices." Ethan walked over slowly. "Looks like the stars are starting to talk." Mia nodded, and were ready to listen. The screen showed many points of light. Each one was a signal. Each one was a possible friend. The universe was bigger than anyone had imagined. Now, it was open. Before returning to Earth, the crew of the Dauntless Horizon stood together for one last moment on the surface. The Serati gathered around them. Kellen stepped forward. "You did not come here as heroes, but you leave as legends. Your names will live in our songs." Ethan looked at his team. "You only did what was right." Mia smiled, "And we'll keep doing it." The ship rose into the sky once more, this time not running toward battle, but carrying the stories of a new bond. Humans had crossed the stars to help strangers. They had brought war, yes, but also peace. And now, other signals were calling. But this time, humanity was ready. Ready to answer, ready to stand, and ready to build a future among the stars.